All right, yes, admittedly there has been a lapse of time from the last video that we've done, but rest assured there has been a lot of progress. And not only are we going to be updating you on that progress that's happened over the last couple of months, but we're also going to be doing more work today on the interior. And there's some really cool stuff I want to show you. Stand by, guys, you don't want to miss it.
Buckle up, bucko, because I don't feel like paying for music, so I'm going to be doing a lot of voiceovers in this video. I'm telling you, 15, 20 bucks a month just for like royalty-free music. It's not royalty-free if you're paying 20 bucks. Anyway, we're doing S54 work, man. We're putting this thing together. We're putting the lightweight single mass flywheel on there. And yeah, this is a pretty cool reel that I made. I just taken out that flywheel and the pressure plate. And I use a special spreader tool in order to take out the clutch centering tool. It's pretty cool. And the block of the S54 when I got it was just horrible. So I used a needle scaler in order to remove all of the surface rust from the block. And I used stickers to paint over the holes so I didn't get any Pour 15 over the threads. And then I just started painting with a paintbrush. The Pour 15 was really good. It looks glossy now, but it's not glossy after it dries. You can get a glossy version, but in this case I decided just to go with the kind of the more semi-gloss look. This is the VAC underdrive pulley kit, and that was a really good update to the S54. So we take the E30 and we turn it around and we get it on jack stands and start lifting the whole assembly on, right? We put the transmission back in, we put our engine arms on, which are the E36 engine arms, and we start lifting it up and throwing it in. It's a relatively easy drop-in replacement. We are using a front sump oil pan, so it makes the installation just a little bit easier than a rear sump. Got to have it at a pretty steep angle though, but overall it was pretty easy. Just getting it close to the holes there, and it just snaps right in, which is pretty cool. Just so you know, we did put that interface plate back in there between the engine and transmission too. There's my son, Cam. He was helping me out a little bit, for the day. But yeah, everything looked really good. And yeah, I started experimenting. This was not a permanent solution, but we did put the valve cover on just to set it in place. And then we put the carbon fiber valve cover on, and then we put the amazing throttle bodies on. So everything, just to get a bit of a sneak peek of what it'll look like when it's done. Then we started working on the rear deck lid. More on that later. And the brake light. We got all that done. Brake light was really easy. But yeah, the rear end was we had to paint it with a SEM trim paint, and we got our vents. We had to paint our rear carpet black, and of course our speaker pods, we painted them black, and it just looks really slick now, just like it looks very OEM, and I'm very happy with the results. Those C-pillar clips did not fare well. We ended up having to make custom ones. We got our quarter windows in. The Hartge side sills was awesome. These are actually light up. We'll have them light up when we open up the door. And now let's talk about the dashboard. This is from AMX Performance, and these are stitched orange. You'll see some close-ups in a minute. But Ruben decided that he wanted to get the e-brake surround, the center console, and the dashboard redone because he did not like the stitching, and I kind of agree with him. The stitching on the new version is much better, and it also matches the rest of the car as well, which is important. Really good quality work by AMX. I'm very impressed. Everything is very symmetrical. Not one missing broken stitch. Everything is very high quality, leather stitched in this. And the orange matches really nicely with the rest of the car and the theme that Ruben is trying to go for.
So the next thing that we need to do is get this dashboard installed. That's going to open up a whole gate of things that we can do after that's done. Here's the dashboard. Now, it's not just as simple as just throwing the dashboard in. There's a lot of prep that we need to do. First of all, we've got this can checked module, and this is pretty cool. This is going to give us, goes right into the air slot, still even allows air to flow there. And it is going to give us all types of S54 measurements and readings, oil temp, oil pressure, RPM, all that stuff is going to be displayed on that. Well, actually, we can even convert it however we want. But that's one thing. The other thing is going to be the cup holder we need to put into the other center vent. So this is not just as easy as just slapping on the vents and throwing the dashboard in. There's a lot of stuff that we need to do. All right, so I got the center vents out, and those are them right there. And those are gonna be discarded and replaced with that and that, which is of course the infamous cup holder and the can checked module. So this thing is gonna be stacked, man. But it's not gonna be as easy as you think, and there's a lot of detail that needs to go into this. First of all, as far as this cup holder goes, it's gonna be okay. It might just fit, but I'm telling you right now, these flappers have gotta go. And of course, with the can check module, it's much, much slimmer. We can just stick that through, and this should be able to be inserted pretty easily. But the main gripe about using these cup holders, and they're so cool, man, it's so slick, what a great idea for an E30 cup holder, is that it's so long that it actually interferes with the air on the backside. So we might actually have to make some modifications to that prior to installing the dashboard. But until then, let's see what we can do to get this thing installed, remove the flappers, and if we might have to glue something in place or use the whatever. I'm not sure how this is gonna happen yet, but we'll figure it out. Look how cool this is, man. So you got this guy that rotates. So this works just fine. And then you got this, you got your cup holder. And I just am enamored by how many gizmos and gadgets this car is going to have. But it's not without making modifications. So this thing is really long, so you do need to make changes to the backside of the ducting, which is pretty easy. You just have to make sure you cut that out on that backside and all the way over too. So that guy needs to be cut as well. And then, I don't know if I can do this with one hand. It's going to be a bit of a challenge. Nope, I can't. And then you can see that this thing fits nice and flush like stock. Now, one thing that I decided to do that others haven't done before is I decided to take the micro USB port and keep it plugged in and snake it through. And the reason being is that I want to have a USB port in the glove box so that you can program this anytime you want. And I'm going to also wire up all of the analog and digital inputs with labels so that you can put a new sensor in there or a different sensor, and you can program this accordingly. Now, I think I'd like to do a whole entire dedicated episode on the can check module so you guys can see everything that it can do and what it offers. But this is a really, really cool, slick product that I want to get into significant detail. So yeah, we might cover that in a dedicated episode.
Now we're switching gears and talking about brakes. We had our calipers re-powder coated completely, and we reassembled them. And they sat for quite a while until we're ready to install them. And now we're actually getting ready to install them. These are completely rebuilt. The description is of what these are down below. The hardware actually was fully zinc coated in this video that you see right here. It's not zinc coated, but we did do it, and now we got to install them.
Now it's time for the calipers, and we've got Wilwood Calipers, and the link is down in the description as to what the calipers are, what the pads are, and what the fittings are in order to make sure that you get this hooked up directly into the E30 brake system. Also, part of the Ireland engineering kit that came with this to adapt to the E30 are these special adapters. These are galvanized. Actually, they're CAD plated, and they adapt from the E30 M3 hookup location to the calipers that we're using here. And it also comes with a little hardware as well. And it's actually standard hardware, so we have to be careful about using metric, mixing metric and standard. But the reason that they're standard is because of the hole size. It's not necessarily the thread pitch or the length or anything. It's primarily determined by the diameter of the shank, and that plays with not only the caliper but also the adapters that they made. So very important you remember that as you're going through.
So we had to secure the rotor with the bolts there because we don't have a rotor retaining nut. But installation on the front is quite straightforward. You just need to ensure that you're installing the bracket in the correct orientation. There's no spacing that you need to do. The rear you do, but not the front. And just make sure you torque everything down and make sure that the rotor spins freely, and you're good to go.
All right, so now we're on to the rears. And I gotta say, the rears are gonna be a little bit more complicated. Not only do we have a different kind of bracket that we deal with, but that bracket not only positions in and out in order to make sure that it's centered within the rotor, but also you can space it like this after it's been mounted with washers. And we have to make sure that it's spaced perfectly centered in both ways, because we need to make sure that we have perfect brake pad contact to the rotor. So the first thing we need to do is see how to install this. And I shaved a little bit of aluminum off of here. We definitely need to take a lot out of this rotor, brake dust shield rather, and we got to make sure that this matches. So let's cut as much as we can out of here. Let's sand it down. Got a couple of very trusty tools that really do the job very nicely. And let's see what we can do to get this thing to fit.
Unfortunately, we had to trim our brand new brake dust shields, but it is a necessary evil and definitely worth the payoff in order to get these huge brakes.
All right, so I got this pretty much cut, and you can see that I didn't even touch the parking brake, which is awesome. So very good at that. I got the right tools. This tool is amazing. It's called a bend file, and it rotates and different speeds. It's so easy to use. This one here is, I don't know what it's called, but it's definitely just like a 3-inch cutoff wheel. And that was really cool too. So now that we've cut this, we do need to protect all of this exposed metal. So we'll paint that black so you don't even know that it was ever cut. And then this bracket fits right in here. And we have to figure out what the spacing is going to be off of that. Although since I already did that other one, on the other side, we'll tell you that it is 3 washers from between here and here. Between here and here.
I foolishly thought that I would be using the same number of washers on the right side and the left side, but in this case, it's obviously going to be different. Why would it be the same, right? Yeah, so we install it, we take a look, and yeah, this one required a little bit more work, but overall, I think it turned out pretty good.
Well, there you have it. This caliper actually not surprisingly, has different spacing than the other side. It actually had 1 washer in here, and actually had 1 washer facing it, facing it outward more. But they both spin freely, which is the important thing. And unfortunately, this actually spins a little too freely, and that's because the parking brake is not adjusted. So in order to adjust the parking brake, I don't know if you can really see this in here, but you might just be able to see that little gear in there. And that gear, you turn that gear and it actually spreads open the pads in relation to the rotor itself. And what we want to do is we want to spread it just enough so it doesn't spin so freely like this. So let's adjust that, and then I think that we'll be good. Now it goes without saying that this is just the first step in the parking brake adjustment. Don't forget that you actually adjust the cables inside the car too by turning the 10mm screws on that side to determine how high, and you must pull it in order to get the brakes to effectively. So now I want to screw this in, so I'm kind of turning it in a way that expands it, right? The thread expands when you turn it. The other side, you actually do the opposite. So you're spinning it in the opposite direction because the whole assembly is reversed. This is too much. We gotta back it off just a tiny bit. There we go. And if we ever had to readjust, it's so easy. Just take the wheel off and turn it a couple turns if you've kind of maxed out on that, or the pedal, the handle just doesn't feel right.
Don't worry about the way the rotors look. They are, believe it or not, brand new, and after 10 miles of driving, they will look the same as a brand new rotor that was just driven 10 miles.
All right, so I had to make a couple of updates, a little bit of JB weld on some of these pieces. I had to put some reinforcement on this. This is a very frequent place for it to break. And yep, it broke in transit. So this visor panel has been moved around many times from shop to shop, and it wasn't a surprise that it came to me damaged, even though this is a brand new piece. But we fixed it, and now the check control panel sits here really nice and firmly. The piece is really nice. Very happy with the way that it looks. No issues. And looks like we're going to be moving on and getting this thing installed.
So yeah, that is the theme for this build, is everything is brand new, but yet old and somehow broken in one way, shape, or form. Whether it has dust all over it that needs to be cleaned, or it actually has been broken from going from shop to shop. But that is where the buck stops with Garageaholic, right? We are done making this stuff go from shop to shop, and we were installing it. And guess what? We got a sunroof that actually works, and I couldn't be happier about its functionality. All right, so now that the visor installed and just about all the rest of the interior stuff that we need to do now is done, we need to finish wiring up the can check device, and we need to do the ducting underneath the dash. Once that's done, ready for dash install. So yeah, a lot of customization that needs to happen here in order to get that can check module in there. Obviously, you have to take all the wires and snake them down into the HVAC panel so we can wire them to the CAN bus and everything else. But just doing the ducting is pretty straightforward. There's nothing really, crazy to go here, except perhaps getting those vents stuck into the dashboard was difficult because of the extra leather that was used. Makes everything a tighter fit. All right, so this guy is a very important little clip that helps to align the dashboard, and that looks like it was bent when it was removed before, so we're just going to straighten it out, and we're going to put the little fabric grommet underneath it, and this guy is now ready for installation. Now comes my favorite part of the project, for many reasons, but it's such a wonderful milestone to experience. I've done this many times on projects. Getting that dashboard in is great because it allows you, once that dashboard is in, you can do so much more. You can do radio, HVAC panel, you can do glove box stuff, and it just makes such a big difference when you get it done. Now I think the key here is push down, get this over the steering column, and it should just snap into place. There we go. That's a good start. Up and in. And I think this is a good shot. Here we go. Yeah, holes are lining up real nice. All the lines are snaked out. HVAC looks to be pretty well centered, or can be centered easily. All my lines are here. It's looking good. Looking good. Yep. All the vents under here are looking good. There we go. Now let's snap this guy in at the top, like I said. That'll be in great shape. I think that getting this clip installed when you're doing the dashboard is actually underrated. I think it's so important to do this because it helps to secure the dashboard in that third location. You got your 2 bolts on each side of the on the A-pillars under there, but I think it's so important that you need to get that done. It really secures it in place. And so does this gasket. This gasket installs, it really takes a lot to snap this gasket in place in the lower frame of the windshield. Once it's in, it really holds that dashboard in place as well. It also is an aesthetic gasket that helps, you don't really see in between the body and the dashboard when you're installing it. But all very good practices. I think it's often overlooked again when you're installing this stuff to do that. But now that the dashboard is in, it's really windshield's the next step. I hope that you guys have had your fill of the E30 S54 swap today. Everything that we've done, we've caught up for sure on content. In the next episode, we'll be doing more interior work, the cluster, our Seco Euro clock. We'll be doing the whole center console, and we'll be starting the roll bar too. So we'll be getting that roll bar installed. Guys, that's about it for me today. Thanks a lot for watching. Please tell your friends, like, comment, and share. All right, guys, take it easy. Later.